Namaste, my friends. Welcome to your Ground of Being meditation contemplation video. Today, I want to talk about identification, the labels we place on ourselves. So this is a contemplation theme, and I'm going to introduce a practice in Jnana yoga. Now, Jnana yoga is a form of yoga, and Jnan or Gnan, depending how you want to pronounce the word, means knowledge. It means wisdom. And in fact, our root word for the word to know, knowledge, is related to the Sanskrit word Jnana, knowledge. It's a path of self-inquiry. And this path is turning within and to start to strip away all the labels we place on ourselves. And this practice is an important part of our Ground of Being meditation. Because through this practice, we start to discover that we are so much more than who we think we are. Who we think we are is just a fraction of the tiniest fraction of who we really are, truly are. And this is not something, it's not a belief. It's something that we can discover because it's not something you gain. It's not something you achieve. It's not something you don't have now. It's something that you already are. Your true self, your true nature. You can never lose that. It's you. It's who you are at the deepest level. So it's a way of discovering this. And the way to discover this is not by trying to find out who you are, the ground of being, your true nature, sometimes called Buddha nature, or in yoga they call it the self with a capital T, the Atma, or Brahma, the supreme consciousness. These are words pointing to the ground of being. Don't be so concerned about words, about labels. Be more concerned about looking within and discovering for yourself your truth. Not somebody else's truth. Not my truth, your truth. And in Jnana yoga, there's a method called neti. And neti means not this, not that. In other words, we negate the various labels. And through the process of deletion, of letting go of the labels we identify with, but through this practice, we start to uncover and discover within us the ground of being, our true essence. So, in the neti practice, what we develop and cultivate is the ability to observe, or the capacity to be aware of what we are observing. And the premise here in the neti practice is that whatever you are observing, you are the observer. And I think most people can intuitively relate to that. Yes, I am the observer. So in the neti practice, you are the observer. You cannot be the observed. So whatever you are observing is the object of your observation, but the observer is separate. So it's a way of creating a gap, of creating a space between you, the observer, and what is observed. So in our first stage of neti-neti, we observe our body, or just contemplate your body. And if you are able to observe your body, observing your five senses, observing the experiences of your five senses, it may be pleasurable, it may be painful. But as we observe, we start to create space, that gap between the observer, the observed, between the experiencer and the experienced. So this is the spaciousness between the subject, which is you, and the object. So in this practice, we determine that we are more than just our physical body. And imagine if you lose a fingernail. You still feel that you are you. And of course, imagine if you lost a finger, maybe your pinky finger. Are you still you? Are you diminished in any way? Well, you've got 9 fingers, but the feeling is, most people will feel, I'm still me. There's a feeling of I. And that's not diminished, even though you've lost a pinky finger. Now we can extend this. What if you, instead of losing a pinky finger, you lose one arm? You may feel handicapped, less mobile, less able to do things, but within us, there's this feeling that you are still you. There's a feeling that within, you're not really diminished in any way, even though you've lost a major limb. And we can go further to this. You can lose both arms, both legs. Will you still be you? And the answer would be yes. So, although your physical body is less, the I am, still feels it's complete. So from this exercise, we start to deduce that who you are is much more than your physical body. In fact, you are not your physical body. Your physical body is a vehicle through which the I am, your ground of being, expresses itself through this physical form. Now we can continue with our mind. The capacity of our mind changes from young to old. Our opinions may change, the way we think may change, our knowledge changes, and as we get older, we start to lose memory, become forgetful, and some of us may suffer dementia, Alzheimer's. But within us, even though our intellectual capacity may increase or decrease, there's a feeling within, I am, and that is not diminished. In spite of the changes of our mental capacity, the I am remains there. And same with our emotions. In fact, with emotions, it's perhaps easier to see that our emotions fluctuate quite a bit. Feeling happy one day, depressed the other day. And within the same day, our emotions can change and vary. So, if we are our emotions, then which one are we? And are we constantly changing? But underneath the flow of emotion, there's a consistency there that I exist. So through this practice of neti-neti, I am not my body, I am not my mind, I am not my emotions. And in fact, can you observe a thought? When a thought enters your field of consciousness, is it possible for you to observe and notice that you've thought something? And the answer is yes, you can observe the thinking in your mind. And if you can observe that, then that thought is not you. It is an object of your observation. Same with emotions. When you can observe your emotions, when we are not overwhelmed, then we are able to just step back and just watch our emotions and notice the feelings that arise within us. Then we realize that we can observe our emotions that become the objects of observation. They cannot be who we are because they're observed. You cannot observe yourself. Whatever you observe is not you. Now the question arises, who am I or what am I? And in a way, it's a trick question. Because whatever label you put in front of I am, no matter how hard you try to put a finger on who you are, as soon as you label that, it can be observed. And if you can observe it, then that's not you. And yet, the I am is fully there. So in the neti-neti practice, we start to really establish, I am not my body, I am not my mind, I am not my emotions that come and go. Anything that I can observe is not who I truly am, because who I am is the observer, the experiencer. I am the subject. So in our meditation practice, when we are completely relaxed in our meditation, and we can cultivate this feeling of the observer, the eternal observer, the witnessing presence, the sparkling awareness that we are, then we are deepening into our practice of meditation. We're deepening into our being and starting to open up to the ground of being that's within. So meditation can go through several stages. And the first stage of meditation is the relaxation. And in relaxation, we start to notice sooner or later the flood, the tsunami of mental activity, of thoughts. And there can be a struggle there. And we can bring acceptance into that struggle and relax deeper. And as we deepen into our relaxation, we can start to practice being the observer. And we start to notice that we are pure awareness itself. And that we are observing the thoughts that come into our field of consciousness. And always there's that spaciousness within. And this cultivation of this inner spaciousness and this separation, this stepping back from identifying with the objects of our experience, of our observation. It creates this inner spaciousness, and it's from this spaciousness that we can deepen even further. It's almost as if that when we get to that point that we are simply being the awareness. We start to become aware of awareness. And there's a deepening into the realization that we are awareness itself. And through this spaciousness that we create between the observed and the observer, between what is experienced and the experiencer, you. You start to create the potential to change, to transform. You start to notice the thoughts that are coming up, the emotions that are coming up. But because we're stepping back from them and we're able to observe them, we're also able to connect, to draw out insight and revelation about those thoughts, about those feelings. And we're able to observe that those thoughts and feelings may be connected to a fear, may be connected to a perspective that our mind is holding on to. And we can change that. We have the power to change our perspective. So this spaciousness, this distance that we are creating between us, the object, the subject, and the object that is being experienced. We realize that we have the power to change those thoughts, those paradigms. And we can change that because we start to have insights, we start to recognize that those thoughts are coming from a certain fear, and that fear is linked to maybe our identification with ourselves as our body, as our mind, as our label, whatever label we're placing on ourselves. So meditation becomes a practice of drawing out from within you your insights, bringing a deeper clarity, a deeper understanding of who you truly are, a sense of your true nature, your true essence within. I want to quote a line from a poem by a famous Sufi poet called Hafiz. And he stated in his poem, "I am a hole in the flute where the breath of Christ moves through. Listen to the music." The ground of being is like the breath of Christ. And the label that we place on ourselves, who we think we are, We are a hole. We're an opening for the ground of being to flow through. And the truth is, we're not just a hole. We are the breath of Christ. Our true essence is the ground of being. And we start to let go of the labels we place on ourselves. And we allow ourselves to open up. We create that potential for the ground of being to flow through us. And we become open and transparent, just like the hole in a flute. So, thank you for listening, and please look out for the other videos, the ground of being, meditation, and contemplation. So, thank you so much. Namaste.